The psychology of millionaires, what they do differently. If you told me 5 years ago that I'd be just standing here, reflecting on how millionaires think, I would have laughed. Back then, I was knee-deep in credit card debt, working 2 jobs and drowning in a scarcity mindset. I used to believe that rich people were just lucky, born into it, or had some secret cheat code to life. And then something changed. I hit rock bottom, and in that quiet dark space I stumbled on a single concept: millionaire psychology. It wasn't a magic pill. It wasn't a course or a scammy guru. It was a shift in mindset so radical that it shook the very foundation of how I viewed work, money, and value. Millionaires aren't just rich because of their bank accounts. They're rich because of how they think, their habits, their reactions to failure, the way they handle time, relationships, and money. Everything is different. Today, I want to take you through my journey into understanding and applying millionaire psychology. This isn't theory. This is lived experience, raw truth, and painfully earned wisdom. If you're tired of spinning your wheels, if you want to actually change your financial reality, keep watching. My journey started with books. I read everything from Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to Think and Grow Rich, to obscure studies on wealth psychology. A pattern began to emerge. Rich people think in terms of abundance, not scarcity. Scarcity thinking is the voice that says, I can't afford it, or I'll never be rich. It's the mindset that hoards pennies but loses out on opportunities. Millionaires flip that entirely. They think in terms of leverage and return on investment. They don't ask, can I afford this? They ask, what can this do for me in the long run? I started making uncomfortable decisions. I quit my second job, the one that drained me but added only marginal income. I used that time to build a skill, copywriting. Every weekend and weeknight became a lab for learning SEO, email marketing, and digital strategy. I was broke, but I was investing my most valuable asset, time. One of the craziest things I realized was how millionaires handle failure. I was terrified of failing. I thought failure defined me, but they see it as feedback. They move through rejection like water off a duck's back. I started to emulate that. Then came mentors. I reached out to people making 6 and 7 figures online. Most ignored me, but a few replied. One gave me my first real break, a $200 gig to write sales copy. I poured everything into it. He loved it. He referred me to others. That $200 became $2,000, then $20,000, and eventually the seeds of my first 6-figure year. Every step of the way, I noticed the patterns. High-level individuals prioritize thinking time, not just grinding. They delegate, not because they're lazy, but because they understand their time is best spent on high-leverage activities. They obsess over habits, reading, health, journaling, networking. But the real twist came next. I was on a video call with a mentor I deeply respected. He said something that stopped me cold. You're still playing not to lose. Millionaires play to win. That line rewired my brain. He explained, I was still choosing safe clients, undercharging, afraid to raise my rates, afraid to offend. I wasn't taking big swings. Millionaires take calculated risks because they believe in their ability to recover. They act from confidence, not waiting for confidence. So I made a move that terrified me. I turned down low-paying gigs and repositioned myself as a premium brand consultant. I raised my rates 5x. I expected backlash. But what happened? Higher quality clients came in, clients who respected my time, my boundaries, and my work. The psychology of wealth is deeply tied to identity. Who do you believe you are? I had to shed the identity of the broke hustler and adopt the identity of a strategic, high-value expert. This wasn't delusion. It was deliberate evolution. One day, a client wired me $10,000 for a 3-week campaign. I stared at my screen in disbelief. Same fingers, same laptop, different mindset. I looked back and saw the chain reaction. how every decision, every mindset shift, every risk aligned with the psychology of millionaires. It wasn't luck, it was rewiring. I didn't stop there. I started building systems. Millionaires don't just hustle, they scale. I hired a virtual assistant. I used automation tools. I built a team. And here's the wild part. I had more time and more money. I traveled, I slept better, I reconnected with friends and family. All the things I thought I had to sacrifice to be wealthy, I was now enjoying. But there were challenges too. Friends didn't understand. Family made snide comments. Not everyone will support your growth. Millionaires are often loners in their thinking, not because they're arrogant, but because they're committed. One of the biggest things I learned: millionaires think long-term. They don't chase shiny objects. They invest in compounding gains, relationships, businesses, and assets that pay them over and over. I invested in digital assets, courses, affiliate sites, and an email list. I stopped chasing income and started building wealth. And then came the moment that made it all worth it, when I showed my bank account to my younger brother, and he said, "I didn't know people like us could do that." This isn't just my story, it's a blueprint. Millionaires aren't unicorns. They're just people who made different choices, asked better questions, and took control of their mindset. They aren't driven by fear, they're driven by vision. Let me break down the core principles again. Number 1, abundance over scarcity. Stop saying, "I can't," start asking, "How can I?" Number 2, leverage your time. Invest in learning, delegate when possible. Number 3, take calculated risks. Growth comes from discomfort. Number 4, think long-term. Stop chasing dopamine hits. Play the long game. Number 5, build an identity. Who you believe you are shapes what you do. You want to become a millionaire? Start thinking like one. Start acting like one. Your results will catch up to your mindset. If this story hit home, if you found yourself nodding, feeling something shift inside, then you already have what it takes to change your reality. This channel is dedicated to raw, real, and practical stories that can transform the way you think about success, money, and life. So here's what I want you to do. Like this video if you got value. It tells the algorithm this content matters. Comment below, what mindset shift hit you the hardest? Subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story that could change your life. And remember, you're only one decision away from a completely different life. This is WildPost Wonders, and I'll see you in the next episode.